Hey, welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick. This is a channel called Watchlist Roulette, a channel dedicated to cinema and the discussion of cinema. Today, we are going to be talking about the 1987 film Walker by Alex Cox. Now, if you're new here, this is a series of videos I do where I, maybe not decide what I watch. It's the opposite of that. It is a program where I use a randomizer, and that randomizer uses an algorithm, and that algorithm decides by random what we watch every week, what I watch and review and cover on this channel. Every month I do a new slate of films, and we are entering the month of March, and the first one was Walker. This is a film by a director that I've always had a curiosity about, in Alex Cox. I've only seen one Alex Cox film up until this point, which is Repo Man with Emilio Estevez and Harry Dean Stanton. One of my all-time favorite films. I've seen it a number of times. If I talk about it long enough, I'll want to just stop recording this and go watch it right now. So I'm just going to leave it at that. One of my favorite films. I had a good feeling about Walker. I did. I had a good feeling, but I didn't totally know how much I would enjoy it compared to the other film of his that I love. I'm just going to say this before we get into it. We struck gold this week. We did. We struck gold. The shovel went in the ground. There was a clink. Gold. Now I'm going to get into talking about what this film is about. So Ed Harris plays William Walker. This film takes place in the 1800s, and William Walker is a man who he's had history in being part of being some sort of general or military member, colonel, and I want to go Wikipedia it right now just to have my facts straight, but I have a rule. I don't record with my phone with me. So every day I got to fly blind when I'm doing this. He's looking to get out of the game, him and his wife, and they want to start a newspaper. And he's being dragged into this concept of trying to liberate Nicaragua and bring it democracy, because democracy is what it needs. And he doesn't have an interest in it at first. A tragic turn of events in his life make him take on the role of leading a group of men into Nicaragua and taking it over via a coup d'etat. He is a man who is convincing everybody in the process, the people that are on his side, the Nicaraguans in Nicaragua, and everybody on the bordering countries, that this is good for peace, this is good for democracy. Having the Americans land there and American troops secure the area is going to make Nicaragua a safer, more free country. And it's going to grow exponentially, and the future is bright as a group of Americans take it over. William Walker is kind of flip-flopping, kind of being very fishy and just lying to his own men, lying to the other people around him, finding a way to take a hold of Nicaragua. What starts as Americans trying to occupy the country for the sake of freedom ends up melting down into a complete and total shit show of a fascist regime. At the heart of this is Ed Harris and his performance, and Ed Harris has this thing where I've always appreciated him as a long-time actor. He's been around for so long. I don't really watch a whole lot of films where it's centered around him as the lead. I see him in a lot of supporting performances, and a lot of those supporting performances are small. But there have been times in the past, The History of Violence is one, where you really do get to see him shine and what a great character actor he is. And he just has this amazing screen presence, even if it's just through a stare, eye to eye, not saying anything. If it's in his more soft-spoken moments, it's magnetizing as well. And then in the bigger, showier parts of his performance, these big, boisterous flashes of rage that his character has, he's such an electric actor, performer, and personality. And I was reading a little bit. Again, the internet's a great tool that you can believe everything you read on there. I can't remember where I saw this, so I don't know how official it is, but he kept a very interesting journal on the set of Walker with a lot of very interesting stories in it, maybe even a little bit of method acting, and if that's the case, I got to imagine it must have been fucking hell to be around him. But he created an incredibly compelling character, or at least a recounting of a real person in William Walker. It's funny, when I randomized this film, and I even made a point of saying, well, Repo Man's hilarious. A lot of fun. I truly love that film, but I don't think Walker's going to be anything like that. And that was my thought going into it. After having seen it, there are, I don't want to say shades of Repo Man, but there are shades of the same chaotic comedy that Alex Cox uses in films like Repo Man. Satirical to the point of being so ridiculous, but not totally pushing it totally over the edge. Almost pretty much going over the edge. His satire, his brand of satire goes to some extremes. And there's just something so like unhinged about his level of satire. Almost along the likes of a Terry Gilliam Monty Python type production. You're seeing a lot of clumsiness in the men that come to Nicaragua with William Walker. You're seeing William Walker walking through a barrage of gunfire, not running, walking, and not being hit. Almost like this untouchable angel or demon that is just not bound by the same physical limitations as you or I. There's even a scene during a shootout, a firefight, where Walker and his troops walk into this abandoned house and he finds this grand piano and starts performing this ragtime jig. All the while, a bunch of his fucking guys are getting blown away. There is just so much chaos in the satire about how dumb and how unorganized and unhinged a fascist regime trying to take control of something is. It just looks like a whole bunch of people who have no clue what they're doing or where they are, but trying to fucking survive the madness. As Walker and his men and their domination of Nicaragua continues, the lines become more blurred as to the men that work for him don't even really know why they're doing it. There's even a part where one of his leading men says like, well, I know there's a liberal side and there's a conservative side, but to tell you the difference, I can't really tell them apart right now. And he's struggling to figure out what the fuck is going on, what the point of any of it is. Really nobody involved knows what the point of it is other than Walker, which is total domination by the way of dictatorship. And his character becomes more sick and twisted through the film, starts to take a lot more liberties with how much control he has over everything. He preaches the concept of democracy, but at a certain point elects himself as a mayor without any question. If you understand like that's what the type of thing he does, you can only imagine how much further it goes and how much it unravels and how many things he swore he would never do that he ends up doing, and including getting involved with slavery, which was a huge red flag for his character. You see Walker's character, sensitive sides of Walker's character with his wife in the beginning of the film. He's a much more sensitive man, a much more understanding man, a much more honest seeming man. When she's no longer a part of the film, that all goes to shit, that all goes down the tubes. He meets a woman in Nicaragua, and she has that same effect of kind of softening him up. His heartbreak in the beginning of the film drives him to be this fascist monster that gets worse and worse throughout the film. And the woman that he's in a little bit of a thing with, it really makes you think, like, in terms of like lonely, angry men, we could just call it the small man complex. I honestly imagine if this wasn't a thing, I think small man or small boy complex might be responsible for many of the wars throughout history. That's something that I immediately took notice of with Walker, is that around women he seems to be almost a different person, but without that there, he's escalating into this monster that nobody can control. The film, for what is such a serious subject matter, is incredibly funny. Again, through Alex Cox's satire, he just has a certain chaotic style to what he finds funny, and I have the same sense of humor as him, apparently. A lot of blood. We're talking like ketchup packets taped to guys as they're getting fucking blown up, like Sam Peckinpah or even the late revenge films of Quentin Tarantino. Joe Strummer from The Clash, one of my favorite musicians, got a great score here that comes in and out that really works with the film. There is a thing that Cox does toward the end of the film where little bits and pieces and details are starting to blur the lines of where we are in time. And what I'm saying is, like, this film takes place in the 1800s and you're watching this total fascist takeover, rampant murderer, colonizer, potential slave owner. And this is in the 1800s, but we're seeing bits where a man is having his head buried in the sand near a Coca-Cola bottle. We're seeing a moment where somebody tries to object in his madness and he tries to prove them wrong by saying, oh, look, I'm on the cover of Time magazine. In the moment, these details kind of flew right over my squirrel brain, and I just totally didn't even realize what Cox was doing. And by the end of the film, it is well apparent what he is doing. in the total madness of the final sequence of Walker, we are seeing the real modern world collide with that point in time. And as hilarious as this whole sequence is, by the time the credits roll, there's a montage of footage that Alex Cox is starting to hold the mirror up to you, and at this point in the late 80s was trying to show you, hey, listen, what you're seeing here at this point in time in American history, it's not that much different now. It might not look totally the same, but a lot of what's happening here is still going on now. And the way he does it in this film, I don't remember the last time I was watching a film where I was belly laughing and then 2 minutes later I honestly felt a tremble in my lip of how choked up I was. It was like a Houdini level transition, the way how he transitioned from madcap satire into tragedy, and I thought it was brilliant. There's a modern example of this that I could reference, a film that makes me feel very similar in the ending, and the point being trying to be proven about how history tends to repeat itself and we may never get out of the cycle, is Spike Lee's film Black Klansman. The end of that film, I'm not going to talk about it if you haven't seen it because it would be a giant spoiler, but Spike does something very similar. And if you've seen Black Klansman but you haven't seen Walker, for me it drew a personal comparison, and it shocked me in the same way. My boy Alex Cox, and apparently, and based on little tidbits I read online, apparently this film like fucking torpedoed his career. Like after this it was over. He didn't get budgets, he didn't really get to stay within the stream of Hollywood or adjacent to Hollywood filmmaking. He kind of had to go off on his own and make his own little small independent films after this. This really like cut the cord between him and the filmmaking business. And I get it. Like I don't agree with it, but it is a bold, fucking angry, fierce film that pulls no punches in its unwavering middle finger to the modern world and the fact that murder and fascism and colonizers and slavery is still very much a thing. It might not look the same as it used to, but it is still there and is still thriving, unfortunately. And again, this film is just a film that is often funny and often bizarre and often flying by the seat of its pants, and it is just so fucking hectic. But by the end of the film, you know, Alex Cox will break your heart in reminding you that history is just a never-ending loop that we are stuck in. And as long as small man complex is a thing and a lust for power and greed is a thing, we might be stuck doing this, you know, for each other's lifetimes, you know, on and on and on and on and on. I mean, there are men very similar to William Walker in the world right now. Not going to name names because that's the type of thing that makes you disappear. So we're not going to go there. But so far, I mean, we're only in March. Through the Watchlist Roulette program, randomizing the films I talk about and review, it's still so early, but this might be my favorite so far I've seen this year. It blew me away. It was my exact, like I think you should leave, Dan Flashes. It was my exact style. And it was. Sometimes you see a film that just feels like it was totally, directly made for you. Like it just has everything about your taste and everything about your style. Every facet of the film just is something you connect with and connect, and when you do, you connect hard, and it feels like it was made for you and only you. That personal, surreal moment that you have with a film that you're discovering for the first time that you absolutely love. And Walker did that for me. Alex Cox is a 2 for 2, but like in a big way. Like if Repo Man's a 10, like I don't really want to rate films in this program because I don't really like to focus on ratings and numbers and whatever. I just don't really like doing it. I kind of get sick of doing it on Letterboxd. Anthony Fantano from the Needle Drop has the best fucking rating scale in my opinion. If I had to use his, I'm feeling a light 9 here. Yeah, loved it to the moon and back. Can't wait to own it for my own personal collection. I know I'm going to get a ton of replay value out of it. It is a tough film, tough as nails, often sad, but very funny in a very, very bittersweet way. It is an odd, uncomfortable fascist thrill ride. I don't even know how to get the fascist counter out. I don't even know how many times I said the word. But that's exactly what this film is. It is a unyielding, dual-wielding middle finger toward the concept, and it's incredible. Loved it. If you watched it along with me, I'm glad you did, and you can let me know what you think. If you've already seen this film, you can let me know what you think in the comments. That's it for Walker by Alex Cox. Next week, I'm kind of doing it on a week-to-week basis. Next week, I'm feeling Early Summer by Ozu. That's an Ozu film, so if you're interested in watching a film about a woman probably being pushed into a marriage, then that is where we're going to be doing next week, and this is where I'm going to be. Every Friday, a new Watchlist Roulette video is uploaded, and so next week it will be Early Summer by Ozu. I hope to see you there. If you are new to this channel, you can subscribe to Watchlist Roulette. My letterboxd handle will be there also if you want to follow and see what other shit I'm watching throughout the week. And if you are a continuing subscriber, I thank you for being here. I love doing this, and that's it. The whole reason I started this channel was for the love of film and to talk about it. And if you are into that, this is our little corner of the world where we get to do exactly that and nothing but that. And that is fucking awesome. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and take care of yourself, and I'll see you later.